Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. I hope everyone is having a lovely day. We have several special guests in the house tonight. We've got Cyndie Abcug, Megan Fox, Rachel Bruno, and joining us in the second half is going to be Thomas from TRUreporting. We're going to be doing an update on Cyndie's case, learning about Rachel's, and getting some more information from Megan. We'll be right back after a brief word from my sponsor, and we're going to get right into the show. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. Thanks again for supporting Red Pill 78 and for supporting all of my guests. Can't wait to see who's here tonight. I know we've got lots of people waiting in the audience. Very excited to see this. A unanimous act of Congress has sparked a $270 billion windfall across America. Have you guys requested your $1,818 check yet? Well, a new law from Congress has created this windfall. It's a lot like Social Security, but you don't have to be retired. And you can grab up to 24 of these a year. It's all part of a brand new income program, and it's explained in detail in a video at www.superpowerchecks.com. All you gotta do is sign up for the distribution list, and they show up in your mail without lifting a finger. Thousands of Americans are celebrating these paydays, and now you can too. Just go to www.superpowerchecks.com, watch the educational video. It's completely free. Remember, the information is free, and by supporting my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, everyone, thank you so much for sticking through that. We're going to bring in my guests right now. First of all, we are going to just say thank you to these ladies for being here tonight. On the screen right now is a returning guest, Cyndie Abcug. Cyndie, how are you?
Hi, thank you, Red Pill, for having me on. I'm okay today.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming back and sharing your story with the audience. Megan Fox, reporter for PJ Media. How are you, Megan?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the program.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate your work. Also, Rachel Bruno. Rachel, thank you so much for being here as well. How are you doing this evening?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Well, Rachel, I was thinking we could start with you since the audience isn't necessarily familiar with your story. I had learned about you after you contacted me after Cyndie's show last time, and you had a very similar situation happen to you with your family and CPS, only your story ended out a little different.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what happened.
Okay, so this happened back in July of 2015, where I had my two sons, at the time 7 weeks old and 20-month-old, were seized by the government without a warrant, without a court order. And this all happened due to the fact that my son had a traumatic brain injury while he was in the care of a nanny. So long story short, when I woke up to him screaming at about 4 o'clock in the morning while he was in the care of the nanny. And I woke up, thinking, okay, she's either changing him or feeding him. And he was screaming, then he stopped. So, I sort of dozed off, tried to go back to sleep. Then he started crying again, then stopped, then started again. So I finally got up and went to the room, and she had him swaddled inside the crib, was kind of rocking him back and forth and shushing him. And he was not having it. I mean, he was just screaming till she finally picked him up and put him in like a burp position. Mm-hmm. And at that point, he stopped screaming, but he was really fussy and uncomfortable. And I stepped into the room. I think that's the first time she actually looked at me. And I asked her, I'm like, what happened? And she said, I just fed him and he's really gassy. So at that point, almost 5:30 in the morning, her shift would be over at 6. And I figured, okay, he's awake, I'm awake. He's obviously not settling down. So why don't you go home and I'll take him from here? So she left, and that was the last time I saw her. And I took my son to my bedroom with me. I unswaddled him. I gave him skin to skin, and he seemed to calm down. So I'm like, okay, you just wanted your mommy. So I held him and I fell asleep. Next thing, 7 o'clock in the morning, he's screaming again. And I'm like, okay, you're hungry, right? Last feeding was 4 o'clock. So I tried to nurse him and he refused. And it was kind of, like, okay, that's weird for a newborn to refuse, but she kind of jaded me with gassiness, right? I'm thinking, okay, you're still gassy. So I reswaddled him and I was home alone. My husband was out of town when this happened on a business trip. I have a 20-month-old son who is waking up, and I have my 7-week-old screaming, right? So I go pick up my 20-month-old. I try to start our morning routine. And for the next 6 hours, my 7-week-old son would not eat. He would not take a nap. And he was just crying and screaming. And I'm Googling nursing strike, colic, gas, like what is wrong with this kid? So I finally called the pediatrician and I told them, the symptoms. And they said that my pediatrician wouldn't be available till 3 o'clock that afternoon. I told the receptionist I need to see somebody right now because he's been screaming since 4 o'clock this morning. And she said, well, take him to the emergency room. So I called my mom to be with me so that she could take care of my older son at the time. So I took the baby to the emergency room. And by the time we got to the emergency room, he had stopped crying. It seemed to me that he was sleeping. And I got to the hospital. They took all his vitals, no fever, no rash, nothing on the outside really that indicated any kind of injury. So the doctor told me to lay him down on the bed, and he walked away, stepped about 10 feet away, and just observed my son for about a minute, like complete silence. Everybody was silent. It was very awkward. And then he goes back to the bed and goes straight to my son's head, right behind his left ear. And he said, did you feel this? I said, no. So he grabbed my hand. He made me touch it. He said, do you feel that? I said, yeah. Like that little bulge? Like, yeah, like that's fluid that's leaking from your son's brain.
Oh my goodness.
And at that point, I'm in shock. I go from gassy baby to fluid leaking from his brain. And the doctor said this can be spinal cerebral fluid or it can be blood. So we need to do a CT scan right now, see what kind of fluid it is. And at that point, like 8 nurses run into that room. They put me up on the bed. They make me hold the baby. They're already starting to intubate him and put stuff on him and running down that hallway to the CT room. And as we're running down the hallway, his right arm starts twitching. Oh. And then they really start running. And that was the first, light bulb moment for me, since I have seizures, like left side of the brain, right arm twitching, he's having a seizure.
Yeah.
So first thing that came to my mind is it's genetic, right? Like I must have passed this on to my son. I said a little prayer for my son. I said, God, please spare my son from having to live with this like I have. And that was just enough time to get to the CT room. Doctors told me to wait when they have the results. And a few minutes later, he calls me, says, Mrs. Bruno. I get up. He takes me to the back room and he says, this is very serious. I'm like, okay. So he shows me the images on the screen. He said, it's a cranial fracture and the fluid that's leaking is blood. Oh. And again, I'm like, okay, like, what does this mean? And he's like, the brain hates blood. Okay, we have to go emergency surgery right now where we're going to try to drain the blood and fix the fracture. So I'm signing all the forms. Are you against any blood transfusions? I'm like, I don't care what you have to do to save my son, save my son. So off he goes, wheeled away into the operating room at 7 weeks old. And my mom is still in the waiting room, not knowing what's going on. My husband is in West Virginia on his business trip. So I'm texting him. I'm telling my mom, texting family, everybody just start praying. I don't know what the heck is going on. A few hours later, 3 hours, the surgery is done. Surgeon comes and gets me. And he said, okay, everything went well. As far as we're concerned, clinically concerned, we were able to drain the blood. He did receive 3 bags of blood transfusion. Wow. And he's in a medically induced coma right now because he started having seizures after the surgery. So due to his young age, we really don't know whether he's going to survive the next 48 hours.
Oh, how awful.
So again, I'm in shock. I can't process, what's going on. I'm like a zombie. I'm just following the doctor. I go to the Pkwy where my son is laying there lifeless, seemingly lifeless, tubes everywhere, head shaved off, and the machine's beeping. And I'm by myself. Again, I pray again. I say, God, please don't take him away from me. Before I had him, I've had miscarriages. My pregnancies were complicated due to my seizure disorder. And I begged God right there. I'm like, please, don't do this to me. If I have to dedicate the rest of my life to taking care of my son, I will. And at that moment, I heard God's voice telling me, he's mine. He's mine. I gave him to you. Nobody's going to take him away from you. And I just had the peace that surpasses all understanding at that point. You know, you can't explain it. And I sat down on the couch, and shortly after, a man in uniform and a lady with a clipboard knock on my door at the hospital door. And they say, "Mrs. Bruno, can we speak to you?" And I'm still processing this, you know, kind of weird that a police officer is here at the hospital, but okay, sure, yes. And he talks to me, he says, "What happened to your son was like getting hit in the head with a bullet."
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, is he insinuating that this woman was trying to kill my son? No, that's what I interpret it as.
Did they know at that time that your son had been under the care of a nanny?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes. So I said, okay. He's like, "We're here to help you. We want to help you figure out how this happened to your son." And I said, okay. So, you know, they came in. So I tell them the whole saga starting at 4 a.m. in the morning until we arrive at the hospital. And then he starts questioning me, "Why did it take you so long to bring him to the hospital?" I said, "Because I didn't know what was wrong with my son. You know, she told me he was gassy."
Yeah.
And he said, "Why did you bring him to a hospital in Orange County when you live in LA County?" So, which is about 20 minutes apart. I said, "Because this is the children's hospital that I know." I said, "Okay, why didn't you call 911? And I said, again, I didn't know what was happening to my son."
Yeah.
So he was kind of quiet. And then the social worker begins to ask me, you know, "Do you have any other children?" I said, "I do." "Where is he?" Like, "He's with my mom right now. He's going to spend the night at my mom's house because I'm spending the night at the hospital." She said, "Is it okay if we go see him?" And by this time it was around 9:30. And I said, "He's probably sleeping by now." And she said, "We're not going to wake him. We just want to make sure he's okay." So again, you know, my naivete at the time, you know, if you have nothing to hide,
Right.
then why not?
Yeah.
So I called my mom and I told her, you know, the social worker wants to come see David. That's my older son. And my mom said, "Okay, we'll be waiting." So at that point she leaves, and I assume she's going to go over to my mom's house. I stay with the police officer, and he asked me if I can wait for the detectives, that the detectives are on their way and they would like to talk to me as well. And I said, okay, you know, again, I'm not processing this. To me, it's the nanny, right? It was obvious.
Right.
I'm thinking that they're asking me all this because they're wanting to gather information.
Exactly.
So that they can go talk to the nanny. So I wait for the detectives, and around the same time, my husband arrives from West Virginia, and he goes from the airport straight to the hospital. And the police officer sees my husband, and he tells me to go wait for the detectives in another room, and takes my husband to another room to go talk to him separately. So, you know, in hindsight, we can see what's going on now.
Yeah, yeah.
So they talk to my husband, the detectives arrive, and they interrogate me till probably 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
so from about 11:30 till 2 o'clock.
Wow.
And, you know, they're asking me, "What do you think happened?" I said, "I don't know. I wasn't there. I was sleeping." "And do you have postpartum depression?" I'm like, "I don't." Like, "Is it possible that you had a seizure?" Like, "No, my seizures have been controlled for the last 5 years." Like, "What do you think happened? Do you think she did this?" And again, that image of bullet in the head stuck in my mind. I'm like, I'm not about to accuse somebody of trying to do this, right? I'm like, I don't know. I said, "I don't know if she did this. I don't know what happened. I don't know."
Yeah.
So I finally told them, you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I have to go to bed. So can we continue this later on today? I'll be happy, you know, after I get some sleep to continue this. So they let me go, and I went to bed. When I wake up at about 10 o'clock in the morning, my husband is just staring at me. You know, my first instinct is to look at the bed. My baby's there. He's alive. I'm like, "What's going on?" And he said, "They took David." I said, "What do you mean they took David? Who? Where? When?" He's like, "They showed up at your mom's house at 2 o'clock in the morning, the social worker, along with the police officer. And they went into your mom's house. And my mom tells me that once she got there, you know, looked in the refrigerator, toured the house, said everything was clean, everything was good, looked at my son, no signs of abuse whatsoever. And then the next things out of her mouth is, 'We're going to take him.'"
Wow.
And my mom says, "No, you're not." And she says, "Well, if you don't give him to us, we're going to have to arrest you." And the police officer is standing right there, right? He knows very well that he has no warrant, that he has no court order, that he has no reason to arrest my mom. Yet he doesn't say a word. And the social worker's on the phone with her supervisor saying that they're calling for backup. 2 other police cars arrive outside. And my dad is calling lawyers at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it was complete chaos, right? I mean, we don't know what the heck is going on. And my mom, if I go to jail, can I take him with me? And the social worker said, no, he's going to go to foster care. And then you're going to have a record and you're not going to be able to care for him.
Unbelievable.
So at that point, my mom felt she had no choice. So she gave my son to the social worker. And off they drove in the middle of the night, gave my mom her business card, and that was it. So fast forward, later, 10 a.m. after I woke up, my husband is trying to call the social worker, the supervisor. They're not answering us. And I'm on the phone trying to get an attorney to see what the heck is going on. So I finally get an attorney. I go see him that afternoon. And I walk in, I'm laughing. I'm like, this is a joke, right? Like, where's my son and when can I go get him?
Mm.
And he sits me down. He's like, this is not a joke. You have no idea what you're in for. And I said, I didn't do this. He said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is family court. And they only have to believe 51% of what the social workers tell them. Like, what happened to the Constitution?
Yeah.
And what happened to innocent until proven guilty? And he's like, not in family court. They don't follow the Constitution. And I'm unbelievable, right? I'm like, this is crazy. And he's like, listen to me. They are not giving your kids back to you. You are facing 15 years in jail, $100,000 bail. What happened to your son is criminal. And I'm like, but I didn't do it. Like, I believe you. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay, so what are you telling me? He's like, your saving grace is that your husband was out of town when this happened. So legally speaking, he wasn't even at the crime scene. So we're going to ask the judge to give sole custody to your husband. That way we don't even risk the children being put in foster care. Because if they go to foster care and the case lasts longer than 6 months, they can be legally adopted by their foster family. Yeah, and I'm like, before a trial, before nothing, it's like before nothing, they can be legally adopted. And I can't believe what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah, I'm in shock.
Yeah, so I'd say, okay, if those are my choices, then yeah, give them to my husband. I don't care. Just, on a piece of paper. Then he's like, yeah, so we'll do that, but they're probably going to kick you out of the house.
Oh.
So again, what are my choices, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what can I do? So I say, okay, I'm in agreement, let's do it. So at the 72-hour hearing, which is what they call the emergency hearing, 72 hours after they seize your children, they told the judge that's what was going to happen. The judge said, okay, anybody object? Nobody objects. Mrs. Bruno, you have 24 hours to leave your house. And your caseworker will be contacting you with a safety plan. See you later. So it was about 15 minutes. I never got to say a word in that courthouse. Never said anything to the judge. So I go home, kicked out, and the caseworker calls me. She said they have given me 7 hours monitored visitation, 7 hours a week with both my sons. I was court ordered to take child abuse classes, parenting classes, and individual counseling.
All without so much as an investigation.
Nothing. So, this went on for 40 days and 40 nights. I was out of my house for 40 days and 40 nights. On the 40th day, we had a hearing. And my attorney says, don't even bother coming. The status of your investigation hasn't changed. The criminal investigation is still open, so don't waste your time. My husband said, I don't care what he says, we're going. So we go to the courthouse, and he calls me back about 2 hours later. He says, where are you? I'm at the courthouse. It's like, okay, I'm on my way. Might be able to do something today. And he hangs up on me. And again, I start texting everybody. I'm like, everybody start praying. I don't know what's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
So he gets to the courthouse. I go hug him. And he's like, don't hug me. I can't make you any promises. So he walks into the courtroom, and he comes back with a bunch of papers. Initial here, sign this. Initial this, sign this. And I'm not even reading what I'm doing. I'm just trusting God and my lawyer at this point. And about 3 hours later, he comes back with a stack of papers. And he says, okay, if you're willing to sign this document the way it's written, there's nothing in here admitting guilt. There's nothing in here saying that you did this. It's just the timeline of the events, their investigation and the statements that they got, the doctor's records, things like that. If you sign that, they will let you go home today. So at that point, if they had told me to cut my leg off, I would have done it, right?
Right.
I wanted to. So I signed it. He told me, Rachel, I've been doing this for 23 years, and I have never seen them let anybody go home. Like, you definitely have a higher power working for you.
Amen.
And I said, amen. Yes, I do. So I went home to be with my kids that day. The judge put us on what they call family maintenance, where the social worker comes to visit our house for 6 months. I was still court ordered to complete all the services. And at the end of 6 months, the social worker recommended that our case be closed. So February 2016, our case was closed. And again, very anticlimactic. Again, I never got to walk into that courtroom. Like, I was waiting outside that hallway, and then the lawyers come out, the Bruno family, I guess. It's like, okay, case closed. Bye. I'm like, that's it.
Like, they were just trying to get you out the door because they knew
Right.
that you hadn't done anything. Now, now the first thing I have to ask is, how is your son today?
He is perfect.
Okay.
He is perfect. He's
Good.
4 years old. He has no brain damage, no developmental delays. He's perfect.
Good. And how about the nanny? What happened with the investigation into the nanny?
They went to talk to her the day after they seized my sons. They went to go talk to her. And she has 2 young children herself. At the time, she had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Her 1-year-old had a bruise under her eye when the social worker showed up to talk to her. And she asked her, you know, what happened. And she said she fell off the bed when she was sleeping. Like, okay, she believed her. And asked, you know, what happened that morning. And the nanny told the social worker that my son was perfectly fine when she left.
Wow. And
So
just took her word for it.
Took her word for it. Plain and simple, they didn't believe me. And during those 40 days, you know, I got a private investigator. My attorney suggested I get a private investigator to see if we can find anything on the nanny. And there weren't any red flags except for the fact that her husband is a cop.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah. So my private investigator is ex-FBI, DEA, and he said, yeah, this is blue code. They're not going to go after her.
That's incredible. Well, you know, thank God that you were able to get your children back,
Yes.
that everything's okay. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you actually sued them, and
Right.
you won a tremendous settlement based upon what happened. Tell us about that.
Right. So, well, I got the signature today from the judge. He has approved the settlement, so I can now officially talk about the entire settlement.
Perfect timing.
Yep. And we hired attorney Sean McMillan. He is very well known here in California. And this is all he does. All he does is sue CPS. And he's been very successful. So talked to him and told him the case. He said, yeah, this is really clear cut. I mean, they took your children without a warrant, without a court order. They didn't investigate the nanny. The father wasn't even there. You know, why didn't they place him with the father? I mean, there's so many things they could have done.
Right.
Other than just taking the children. So he, you know, filed the complaint in May, I believe it was May of 2017. And the trial was scheduled for June 4th, 2019. So just a few weeks ago. But after all the depositions and the discovery, I think they saw how bad they would come across to a jury. I mean, the detective admits that she did a warrantless seizure. The social worker admits that there was no exigent circumstance to remove the children. They admit everything. And they're so aloof about it, you know, like another kid, more money, basically,
Exactly.
I think is what they see.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. Unfortunately, it's all too common. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I've learned from many people since the last time that Cyndie was on the show. I mean, just how often this does happen. And it's just, the thing that's really awful is that your case is more the exception than the rule.
Exactly. I know. I tell people I'm the lucky one, you know, and people can't believe me. And I'm like, I am the lucky one because I think, you know, I do have a certain level of education. I do have a certain level of financial stability where I had the means to fight. You know, I mean, this put us probably over $100,000 in debt during, you know, the 3 years that this took place. But too many families, I know too many families are not as fortunate as I am. either to fight while they're in family court or to hire a Sean McMillan and sue them afterwards.
And now, is this the state of California that is paying out this multi-million-dollar settlement?
It is the state, well, it's the county, Los Angeles County,
Okay.
Orange County, and the Children's Hospital of Orange County.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I would
So,
hope that perhaps having to do this might make them think twice about doing this to another family. I would say that probably also where you're very lucky is that your entire life was squeaky clean. One of the things that I've noticed is that CPS and these agencies have a way of finding absolutely the smallest thing and using that to exploit and take the children and really make parents seem like monsters when, in fact, everybody makes mistakes, so
Right.
you're very lucky that wasn't the case with you.
But they lied to the foster families, right? I mean, can you
Yeah.
imagine what they would tell a potential foster family about me
Oh, yes.
regarding the 7-week-old baby,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Saying that he was found with a cranial fracture. Mother is the suspect. I mean, they would surely paint me as a monster, no doubt.
Oh, no doubt.
And the foster family has no way of knowing,
No.
right? And these people aren't held accountable. I mean, I think that's really it's crazy. That's what needs to change. Either they need to be held accountable for their lies, or we need to abolish this whole system and try it in a criminal court. If parents are really found guilty of child abuse, then go before a jury, a judge and a jury, and let them decide as our Constitution requires,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Now, in the end, what did they actually pay out for? Was it because they just broke the law, or was the defamation against you?
No, the complaint was Fourth Amendment violation, which is the unwarranted search and seizure,
Yes.
and the 14th Amendment, which is the right of a family to live together without governmental interference.
Excellent.
Right.
Yeah.
And my son, when they took my oldest son, when they seized him, they took him to the children's shelter. And from the shelter, they took him to the hospital and did a series of medical examinations on him, again, without a warrant, without consent, without a judge's order, even though my husband was at the hospital when they did this. They
Right.
gave my son 12 vaccinations at once. They forced him through a full skeletal survey to see if there were any broken bones on him. And my husband is standing outside that CT room crying like a child, saying, "Do not do this to my son. I do not give you permission to do this to my son." And the receptionist is looking on the system. "Sir, we're sorry. I mean, there's a hospital hold placed on these children and you can't do anything," basically.
That's just incredible. Had you previously been choosing to selectively vaccinate your children, or did they okay, so it wasn't like
Yeah.
they gave them a bunch of vaccinations that he already had.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I mean, we had chosen, with our pediatrician to
Exactly.
space out the schedule.
Yes, very
And
intelligent.
we are not, anti-vaxxers.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just decided to give it all to him because he wasn't up to date according to the government standards.
Well, thank God he's okay too.
He is, yes, thank God.
Oh,
So, I mean, physically okay, the emotional trauma was a little bit harder, of course, to overcome.
Yeah.
That took a year or two of us just talking to him about it. I mean, he kept rejecting me. Like, "I don't want you, mommy. I want to go to my grandma's house," because my mom is the one who picked him up at the shelter because they
Right.
wouldn't release him to me anymore.
right.
And it took a lot of prayer on my part. It was a lot of heartbreak. I mean, I felt like I was building a wall against my son because words hurt regardless of who they come from.
Yeah.
And crazy as it sounds, I had to forgive my 2-year-old son, for the words he was saying.
And who knows what they said to him about you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one day, I sat down with him and I asked him, "Do you remember when your aunt from Brazil came to take care of you?" And he looked at me and the first words out of his mouth were, "Why did you leave?"
Hmm.
So at that point, I knew that he knew, right? And that he remembered. So I sat down with him. I took out my phone that had all the pictures of his brother in the hospital.
Hmm.
I'm like, "Look, this is what happened to your brother. And they thought that mommy did this to your brother." And immediately his face, he looks at me. He's like, you never hurt us, mommy." I'm like, "I know I didn't, but they thought I did. And they thought I was going to do it to you." Okay. So it wasn't mommy's choice to leave you. It wasn't daddy's choice. It wasn't grandma's choice. None of this was our choice. Okay. They just made a really bad decision. And he's looking at me and I'm trying to think in my head, how do I explain this to a 3-year-old, right? Without creating rebellion against police officers and authority and different people.
Right.
So he's like, "Why did they do that?" Why did they do that? Like, they just made a really bad choice, David, but we're not going to let them get away with it. Okay, we're going to fight them. And he looked at me, he's like, "You going to hit them, mommy?" And I said, "Yeah, hit them with a stack of papers. That's how we fight them."
There you go. There you go.
So he was part of the process. And from that point on, it was a complete 180. You know, he just needed the closure and the restoration, and to know, you know, that he wasn't abandoned and that we are a family and that we love him. And that's, you know, that's all that matters.
Oh, well, I couldn't be happier to know that you and your family are safe now. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us, Rachel. I'd like to move on to Cyndie, and so that we can get an update on Cyndie's story. Cyndie, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes, I can hear you. Now, I understand it's been how many days now without Michael? Cyndie, are you there?
Today's day 66.
66. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, excellent. I think we might have a slight delay, but that's okay. Well, please tell us what has happened with your case and Michael's case since the last time we spoke.
I can't remember the last time I came on to your show, how many days it had been.
I believe it was day 52, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so a couple weeks ago. So I have to give a big shout out to my attorney, Jay Fisher, who was able to get the department to allow me to see my son today. He gave them a deadline, state that if they didn't see my son or organize some kind of visit by today, he was going to file a lawsuit against them for negligence and some other legal terms, you know, and emotional heartbreak to our family. And I'm not sure if it's because they didn't want that lawsuit or because they just, you know, he put enough pressure on him, but he's an outstanding attorney. And when I'm listening to Rachel, you're right. You can't win generally with the court appointed attorneys. And if you're in a position where you don't have enough money, you know, in her case, what did she say? You know, she spent over $100,000. You don't get a chance to try to get your family back. And for those folks who don't know my story, I won't go into an entire, you know, detailed history of it. But in my case, I was also offered help like Rachel was. They told me that since my 7-year-old son was taken unlawfully by the CPS, which stands for Child Protective Services, and they're under the umbrella of the Department of Human Services, 66 days ago in a secret court hearing, was not in a docket. That was under the guise of getting me an appointment, like a medical appointment maker. And I think that my only hope into getting him returned is this attorney and prayer, you know, of course, prayer always. But I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of parents that never see their kids again, but this attorney, he's going to have to know what to file, because there are these amendment rights that are being broken. And so they took my son in the secret hearing. I have no criminal history, no drug history, no, you know, they've tried to falsify a drug test. I can't remember if I shared that on the show.
Yes, you did.
His case file went missing from the courthouse, you know, just secret games behind our backs. And they're playing some dirty games here, not to mention the fact that they've taken my son illegally and with no substantiated evidence of any crime at all. So I actually got to see my son today for an hour, which is my big update.
That's wonderful news.
Do you want to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to say that that's wonderful news.
Great news, because, yeah, to me, I was bittersweet. I had tears of joy, and then I had to leave him again. And I spoke to Rachel last night, who kind of prepared me for what that visit might look like. In my case, when I saw my son, he had a lot of questions for me. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
He when I initially went into the meeting, I was met with what they called a supervision, somebody who supervises the meeting. And this man going over a list of do's and don'ts that he told me if I wanted to see my son, I had to cooperate with these do's and don'ts of things I was allowed to do and not to do in this 1 hour meeting that I would have with my son. He told me that I was not allowed to tell my son that I loved him. I was not allowed to tell my son that I missed him. And I was not allowed, if my son wanted to discuss things that had happened over the last 2 months, I was instructed to redirect him, or a hard, place to be in when you haven't seen your child in 66 days and you want to say, I love you and I miss you and I've been looking for you and it's not your fault. You want to talk to him and just reassure him, even in a general way, not of course about the grown-up details. And then, and he kept asking about his sister, and we were able to play games, and he didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave me, and he begged to stay, and he didn't want, he said, I want to stay. I don't want to go back. And it was just heartbreaking. And I don't know what authority these people have my son under. I don't know what their governing authority is because I haven't committed a crime. And again, there's been no due process. We still have the writ of habeas corpus pending, which is the writ to return the body to the home, which is, I think, if Megan can pipe in, I think Jay had quoted in the writ of habeas corpus, because Megan knows a lot about that, and my attorney's not available for press. Jay had written about, I think, the 4th and 15th Amendment with
if you want me to jump in
violation.
Here, I can talk about it.
Please do.
Yeah, what did he write about in that? What are we waiting on?
Okay, well, the writ of habeas corpus in Latin, it means return or produce the body. Okay, it's a legal document, a legal remedy for when you think a person has been held illegally against the Constitution and against their will. It has already been ruled in the Supreme Court that it is admissible and usable in cases where children are being held by CPS. So the jurisdiction is there. CPS is claiming that there's no jurisdiction, of course. They said they were going to, this is kind of funny because they said they were going to file a motion, or they did file a motion to dismiss it. And then suddenly, before waiting for the judge to rule on it, they answered it, which means we're not actually counting on the dismissal anymore. You don't write an answer if you wanted it dismissed. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, so then they answered it, and they answered it in a way that made no sense. They're claiming no jurisdiction, but there's precedent, there's case law that says they absolutely have jurisdiction. They are claiming that other things that weren't on the petition, the original petition that CPS filed against Cyndie, they never claimed that she physically abused her son, emotionally abused her son. All they claimed in the initial petition was that she was maybe making up his medical condition. I mean, that's not even, I don't even know what that means. In the answer to the writ of habeas corpus that they just filed, they are now claiming that she physically abused him, emotionally abused him, and provided an unsafe environment. In the same paragraph, of course, they don't go into any details about what that is. In the same paragraph, they say, but we admit that he is loved, that she gives him love, affection, care, nutrition, and good food, and a clean environment. They actually said, this is not to say that the environment is not clean. So what's unsafe about it? There's nothing in there that says anything about what this woman has supposedly done. Excuse my outrage, but I'm sorry, she has no criminal record, and I had it checked. Sorry, Cyndie, you probably don't know that, but I had her criminal background checked. She has no criminal record. She has not been charged with a crime. There is nothing on this woman. And these people have stolen her son. So the writ of habeas corpus is now waiting. We are now waiting for the judge to rule, and it's supposed to happen soon. I have tried to get a timeline when that's going to happen, because now that they've filed an answer, it's supposed to get that ball rolling.
Right.
I can't tell you like when it's going to happen, but the attorney says soon. I don't know. But, something else I want to say about what has just happened to Cyndie today is, listening to her, like, I'm tearing up. Like, how do you tell a mother that she cannot tell her son, I love you? Who do they think they are? And if you're listening, Douglas County, because I know you are, I'm coming for you. This is a violation of her First Amendment rights. And you don't scare me. You can't touch me. This is a violation of her First Amendment rights, her Fourth Amendment rights, her 14th Amendment rights. And anybody out there, and I want to address the people in your chat room right now, because I've been monitoring what they're saying. And some of them, these sovereignty people are in the chat room. And I want to say something to you. I have researched sovereignty theory. It does not work in court. I know lawyers. I know judges. I'm telling you, if you think you can walk into court and say to a judge, American law does not apply to me because I'm a sovereign citizen, blah, 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 you're out of your mind. That is not going to work. Here's what does work, what Sean McMillan does. You sue the pants off of them for Fourth Amendment due process violations, 14th Amendment deprivation of liberty and freedom. You sue them under the 4th and 14th Amendments. Okay, those are the things that are illegal. I've got Supreme Court cases, Supreme Court of the United States. Here's the Ninth Circuit. The United States Courts of Appeals in the Ninth Circuit said the government's interest in the welfare of children embraces not only protecting children from physical abuse, but also protecting children's interest in the privacy and dignity of their homes and in the lawfully exercised authority of their parents. That is the law. That is the law. People who, and I'm sorry I sound angry, but there are people out there preying on parents, telling them to to use affidavits for sovereignty theory in court. All that will do is piss off a judge. If you are in this mess, don't you dare take advice from somebody telling you to sign affidavits about your sovereignty and this and that. You don't have jurisdiction over me. Yes, they do. And the only way you're going to go after these people is with the Constitution of the United States. And you are protected. You are protected. The 4th and 14th Amendments will protect you from these people. But you must find an attorney who will sue on your behalf, like Rachel Bruno has found, and like we will find for Cyndie Abcug, because if it's the last thing I do while I'm still breathing, I'm going to find an attorney that will sue the county of Douglas in Colorado and take them for what they have done to this woman. It is outrageous. If they're listening to me now, I've got you on so many violations. They didn't give her a summons. She was hauled into court in front of a judge with no serving of a summons. You can't be hauled into court without a summons. A sheriff must show up on your door and hand you and serve you. She was not served. She got an email. We have that. You people are stupid. This is the other thing. You're dumb and you're going to get caught. Just like Rachel said, you mess with the wrong woman, you mess with the wrong mama, and you're going to get caught. They gave her no summons. She was hauled into court under false pretenses. They told her that she was going in there to sign a document saying she didn't want their service. Yeah, she shows up, there's a hearing, and the hearing is to take an emergency hearing without exigent circumstances. And Rachel knows all about this. And Sean McMillan won, millions of dollars for a bunch of people in California, not just her. He won like 3 million here, 4 million there. He's taken them for everything they're worth, because exigent circumstances mean something. You cannot deprive someone of their liberty without exigent circumstances. Okay, so you can't go in without a warrant unless you have an imminent danger of dying. They said this about Cyndie's son. They put it in the petition that his life was in danger, but they did not specify how or why. And in one of their previous documents from seeing Cyndie's home, they wrote in their own document, and I've seen it, I published it, they wrote in the own kids are safe at home with mom. How do you go from being safe at home with mom to being near death's door and you're going to die if we don't take you out, but then they take the son, but they don't take the daughter? They have left Cyndie's teenage daughter with her in the house.
Yeah. That's insane. I was going to say, it seems that their statements have been at odds on numerous occasions. The initial things that they were saying have now changed.
Yes. So it's craziness. It's absolutely, they're out of control. And I'm not even done with the violations that they've done to this woman.
Continue.
If a lawyer is listening, they have now this next thing they did. So they come and they take her son they get a court order, but it's phony because Cyndie never got to speak on her own behalf. There was never any evidence entered into court on her behalf. She did not get a 72-hour hearing. When they take a child in an emergency situation, they are supposed to have a 72-hour hearing after that so that she can come, the mother can come, or the parents can come to court and present their evidence to the court. She never got that. She didn't get anything from them. Nothing. Not only that, she goes to court and she tries to find her case file. She says, I need my case file. They say the case file is missing. Are you kidding me? This is 2019. Does anybody believe that there's a manila folder hanging around in a courthouse somewhere? Like it's not on the computer? Are we, what am I born yesterday? So she has no file. They won't give her any paperwork. She can't figure out where's the transcripts. They won't give her the transcripts. They won't give the lawyer the transcripts. It's incredible. She goes on the media. She starts talking about this. Somebody who used to work at Douglas County or something contacts her and says, I know what your case file number is. They gave you the wrong number. It's missing 4 numbers in the front. Gives her a real number. She gives it to her attorney. Sure enough, there it is, her case file. Guess what they've been doing the whole time? Holding secret hearings without notifying her, without notifying her attorney. They have the judge, against her will, signed an order to say that the foster parents could take her son out of state, claiming they're going to take him to Disney World. She had already said no to that, and she is his legal guardian. She doesn't want some stranger family taking her son to out of state. We don't know where he's going. We don't know what they're doing. And anyway, and she has a right to say no. This is nuts. We don't even know why he's been taken away. They've come up with no possible answer to why he's gone. I have read all the doctor's reports, okay? I have seen them. I have published them. I have published doctors' letters about her son. The doctors agree that there's something going on with him. They don't necessarily know what. They agree that he has seizures. They agree that the seizures have been getting better. They think there could be other things wrong. There's developmental delays. Like, everyone's in agreement. No one has ever accused Cyndie. None of these doctors have ever accused her of making any of this stuff up. Does anyone think for 1 minute that if she didn't follow their instructions, that they wouldn't be reporting her for medical neglect?
Of course.
So here she is. She's following all the instructions, doing what the doctors tell her to do. Her doctor in Florida says, go to Colorado. Go see Dr. Collins in Colorado. She's the neurologist. She's a specialist, and I think she's the one who needs to help you. Cyndie goes. She gets even a permission from the judge in Florida because she's dealing with custody issues there. So she gets it order from the judge. Judge says, fine, go to Colorado. She goes. The school now in Colorado won't give him the services that his doctors are asking for them to give him. He needs help getting his coat on, needs help with his stuff. He needs help with his lunch. He can't be left alone in the bathroom. He needs help. The school is basically saying, we don't want to pay for that. I've got a letter from Cyndie's attorney at the time saying the school really needs to do this. School needs to give him the services. But since you are refusing and we cannot come to an agreement, she is going to keep him at home for homeschooling so she can follow the doctor's orders. Shortly after that, that's when CPS shows up at her door. Now, do you think that this is because Cyndie is the problem? Or do you think that it's because the public school system doesn't like being told by mothers that they're going to take their kid out of school and deny them the federal dollars that they want for him?
Bingo. That's it.
And this has happened to my own sister, by the way. The exact same story. Same thing. She was fighting for an IEP for her daughter. They wouldn't give it to her, and she kept fighting, and they called CPS on her. And claimed she had Munchausen syndrome by proxy, by the way. Same thing.
Is this in Colorado as well?
No, Arizona. They're doing it everywhere.
Yeah.
They're doing it everywhere. My sister is lucky. She has a generous father, and they paid for a big time attorney, and goodbye problem. If you have money, you can get right out of it, because no CPS wants to face a real attorney. A real attorney will turn them over and shake them out like Sean McMillan does every time. A real attorney. But you know who they're used to working with? The court-appointed attorney. And who does the court-appointed attorney work for?
Yeah.
The state.
The state.
It's nonsense.
Oh, this is horrible. So, Megan, are you writing any other stories along this line, or are you just going to continue to follow Cyndie's story until its conclusion?
No, I am. I'm following a lot of these stories. The Pardo case in Texas, that's one that you should look into and maybe try and get that. They're not allowed on social media, though. They've been gagged.
Oh.
But the attorney is not gagged, so
Okay.
maybe I can put you in touch with him.
I would appreciate it.
There's many cases going on, and so that your audience knows, it's also not just children. Senior citizens are having they're being kidnapped by CPS also, and then their entire estate is being sucked up by the state, and their children are being left out in the cold. And I'm talking about they are keeping children from seeing their family. This is a problem. This is the biggest problem in America today. The State Department a couple of weeks ago came out and said that in the human trafficking report that our foster care system is the #1 funnel for human trafficking in America.
Yeah.
USA Today came out. I wrote about USA Today a couple months ago. I mean, I've been on this for years. And now finally people are starting to pay attention. Newsweek, sorry, it wasn't USA Today. Newsweek wrote an article called "We have set up a system to sex traffic American kids." And it's unbelievable, because we have more than 18,500 endangered runaways reported to the Missing and Exploited Children line. 1 in 6 were likely victims of child sex trafficking, and of those, 86% were from our foster care system. 86%. Our foster care system is broken. It is a joke. It is. There are studies that show even kids from dysfunctional homes, and I'm talking about real dysfunction, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, even those kids in those homes are better off at home than they are in our foster care system, where they're 6 times more likely to be abused. Now, luckily, in Cyndie's case, it seems that her son is doing okay, and he seems to be in a place that's okay right now. Thank God. We have been waiting 66 days to find out, though, and I think that is an absolute travesty, especially considering that they took him for no reason. And not all foster care, and people get really mad at me when I talk about foster care system, because not all foster parents are terrible human beings, obviously. My beloved aunt adopted 6 children out of foster care, but she would be the first one to tell you, dealing with CPS is an absolute nightmare. She tries to keep her kids involved with their biological families. She had to fight CPS every single step of the way to get them to do that. They lie to foster parents. They tell them tales about parents that are not true. Some people, even if they're drug addicts, they still love their children and they want a relationship, and they should be allowed to have it, because having a drug problem is not a crime. Having a drug problem is a sickness. Having a mental illness that they are accusing Cyndie of having is also not a crime. She doesn't have it, by the way.
Right.
It's bullshit. Can I say that? I'm sorry.
Well, I'll excuse it.
Sorry. It just is. She doesn't have it. But even if she did, it's not a crime.
Yeah.
And we are they are taking kids away from parents who have never committed a crime. And it's wrong, and it has to stop. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, I've got so much, but I don't want to monopolize the time. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, we've got about 7 minutes left. So obviously, Cyndie, you need a good lawyer. You have a lawyer right now, but it's it's expensive, right? I mean, this is a major financial strain for you.
Yeah, I don't want to say I love my lawyer, because that sounds weird, but my lawyer, I think, has filed everything appropriately, and I feel like he's the only person in this world that could save my son. I don't know any other lawyers, and I got him, I think, by coincidence, because I didn't even know that he was a kind of lawyer that could file constitutional stuff. I thank God every day that he doesn't know these people and he's not in their group. He's not afraid to file against the department. He's not afraid to send them an email that says, you give her a visit or else, this is wrong. And he's not afraid to write a writ of habeas corpus, you know. And then I get tips from Megan of things she's found and she sends it to him. I think he has a lot of courage, and I think, but yes, he is expensive. And I did a GoFundMe, and I forget about it to talk about that on every single show almost. I talked about it, I think, almost the last on your show, and then it got frozen, or then I had to make a new one. So I only need 15, I think, left. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, so after you appeared on the show, I know that many of my viewers donated to it, but you're saying it was frozen. So that means that GoFundMe, they canceled the fundraising effort, and did they give the money back to the people that had donated to you so that you weren't able to take advantage of it?
No, that money that was donated was released to me. I think there's only one that got refunded, a guy in Orlando, or actually was the last one that they sent to me. And he contacted and said, and then GoFundMe contacted the girl that opened it up and said she couldn't use it for legal fees. We couldn't use it. So we opened up one for ongoing. The new one, Let Michael Go, is for ongoing fees, ongoing costs during this crisis. I can't remember how my friend worded it, but this one is not Bring Michael Home to His Family. This one is called Let Michael Go, and it is for Jay Fisher, my attorney. If anybody looks up Jay Fisher's background, he's got a really great background. And I think between him and Megan, and then Rachel's story was really encouraging to me too, because I need to be around people that have actually got their kids back.
Right.
You know, and there's always hope. And not that I don't want to be around people who didn't, because it's not their fault. Whoever sees this coming. I've never heard of this until 66 days ago. I think I shared that on your show last time.
Yeah.
But I think I sent you my new GoFundMe right before the show started.
Yeah, I've actually got it on screen now. And that was my next...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so basically, it's very important, you know, as Megan and Rachel were saying, you know, if you're in a position to fund a major legal effort, then it's possible to beat these people. But for the average person to go against the state, to go against a couple of counties, a municipality, it can be very, very difficult. So I just want everybody to know that it is available if they want to help out Cyndie. I think nobody, you know, on the show wants to, you know, make sure that Michael stays away from his mother. This is a complete criminal travesty. And, you know, I had some idea about what was going on in terms of these CPS cases prior to meeting Cyndie, but I didn't really know how widespread it was. You know, and it wasn't long after Cyndie came across my email that I realized, with the release of that State Department report on the child trafficking and the foster care system, exactly how bad it was. So if anybody wants to help out Cyndie, I've got the link. I will go ahead and share it again in the chat for the show right there. It's on screen, and it will also be in the show notes as well. Ladies, we've got 3 minutes left. You know, I think I want to highlight the fact that you and Rachel, Cyndie, you met in that support group. I think that's very, very important because this is a unique problem. You know, I think that a lot of people from the people who've contacted me, they find themselves absolutely lost in a situation like this. They don't know where to turn. And to know that there is a group of other parents like yourself who have gone through the similar thing, I think it can be a major source of support. So why don't we, talk about that very briefly? Tell where can people find this support group or other support groups like it?
Well, I found Cyndie on Twitter.
Yeah, I want to say one thing. Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I found you on Twitter, through a group just by when my story came out. The first story was Michael Volpe's article in the Daily Caller. And once that came out, everything just sort of exploded for me. People did start finding me and reaching out for me, and including parents who are in this mess and don't know what to do. So I have reached out to Cyndie personally to let her know that I know what she's going through. Because like you said, there aren't many people who can look at you and say, I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
And my purpose in coming out with this story is to share, is to let people they're not alone. If they would like to reach out to me, I have my own website, www.rachelbruno.com. I will be coming out with a book sometime in 2020. So please, don't be afraid to reach out to me.
Excellent. Well, bless you for that, Rachel, and I'm so happy, again, to know that your family is okay. All right, ladies, we are reaching the top of the hour, so I just want to say thank you all for being here. Rachel, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you, Cyndie, for coming back on and giving us an update, and thank you, Megan, for your work that you're doing. I would definitely love if you could put me in touch with anybody else that we can have on the show that would be able to tell us about what's going on, and I would love to have all of you back in the future so that we can continue to get updates.
Thank you so much. I certainly will.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, ladies.
Red Pill.
Yes.
Can you put my email up there? I found a lot of good tips on ways to help other parents that people might not think about. And I'm helping people one day at a time while my son's gone. And it's bringmichaelhome1111@gmail. And if anybody's going through this and they can't afford a lawyer, and I'm not a lawyer, but I found some good ideas that have helped gather information people might not have thought of. And anybody can feel free to email me, even if they just need a listening ear, because you need it. And there's a lot more people than me and Rachel. There's thousands of us out there.
Excellent. Okay, so I have added Cyndie's email to the show notes, you guys, and I'm going to paste it into the chat box as well. So if anybody knows someone who's going through something similar, by all means, reach out. All right, ladies. Well, we have reached the top of the hour. Thank you so much for joining us again, and I look forward to having you all back again soon. And Cyndie, I'm going to continue to pray for you, and Megan, thanks again, and Rachel, thanks again as well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. We'll talk to you soon, ladies.
Thank you all. Thanks, Red Pill. For
Guys.
Thank you. No problem.
I love you, girls. You're so good.
Yeah, I love you too. Hey, the three amigas here.
I just showed my kids that movie the other day. Yeah, and they loved it. It was.
All right, everybody. Don't go away. We are going to be right back with Thomas from TRUreporting. The only way for me to do this, I only have one monitor right now. I'm going to play a brief ad from YouTube, and I'll be right back with Thomas. Thomas, what's up, buddy? I am playing an ad. Hopefully that's working so that I can get everything working. Okay, let's.
You hear me, Bubs?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right, cool.
I can hear you. Okay. All right. Thomas from TRUreporting, what's up, my brother?
Hey, what's up, dude? How are you?
I am good. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. Just having some tea, relaxing, winding down the night.
Beautiful, beautiful. We've had some big news the last couple days, bud.
Oh my God, yeah. It's I know last night I said it in my my podcast. I was up till like 4 a.m. I know that's pretty typical for me, but my mind was going 100 miles an hour just trying to figure out what everyone was talking about, and I think we're all ourselves doing our own decoding.
Yeah, I'd have to say so. Okay, everybody, I guess the ad didn't work, so you guys saw a little behind the scenes there for a second. Sorry about that. All right, hey, I love the cardboard cutout, buddy.
Oh yeah, he's always with me, but with the cameras, he's a little too tall. It's his actual height, so he doesn't fit in the frame all the way. So this time he will.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you been working on lately, my friend? You had a bunch of great videos lately.
Yeah, I just did a trying to go in a little more into interviewing. I just had Sam Tripoli on.
I saw that. Good job.
Yeah, thank you, my friend. Yeah, I'm just trying to get. I want that video to get over 20,000 because I really respect Sam. A lot of my followers know that I'm just like I'm huge on stand-up comedy, and that's my second love besides doing this stuff.
I can vouch for that. Thomas is hilarious.
I don't necessarily show it on the channel, but yeah, I'm out there.
Well, it's good. I mean, that's one of the cool things about knowing you behind the scenes is that I get to see you let loose a little bit. I do need to give a couple of quick thank yous. It looks like Grandpappy Frog last week gave a super chat, but for some reason it's still showing up here. I think it's because after the broadcast ended. So thank you, Grandpappy Frog, for that super chat. Jeff Stewart said, "God bless our Q family." Thank you so much for that. Dana Finkler, my brother from another mother, where we bark one, we bark all, from Muffin Country. New Guardian says, "Dingo dollars for the Rawhide Fund. Look at that cute doggy. What a doggy." Thank you so much, New Guardian. Ben Schwagel said, "Awesome. Appreciate that. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview. I know that, the tough subjects often are a little bit difficult to digest, but unfortunately, it's something that's, really important, and it is happening all around us all the time. These CPS organizations across the country stealing children from their homes when they have absolutely no reason to, just absolutely kicking our rights in the dirt and not caring about the fact that they are splitting up families for nothing more than the almighty dollar." Let's see. Vigilant Blade, thank you for that super chat. Charles Pixley, and a former guest in front of the show. Charles, good to see you, buddy. He said, "House of Horrors, presumption of innocence doesn't exist. MD state, medical state kidnapping. We know what's best for your kids." Yeah, that's right. That's what they think. That's one of the things about science, Thomas. This is something I've noticed. The left, they are obsessed with the idea of doing what's best for us based upon junk science all the time. Alexandria Occasional Cortex telling us the world is going to end in 12 years. These doctors absolutely just completely obsessed with giving vaccinations for things that they never vaccinated for. I think when I was a child, I got maybe 2 or 3 vaccinations, then I got a couple more in middle school. Now it's something like, it's like dozens of vaccinations that these kids are forced to get in many of these states, like California. California is a good example of that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. As some of my followers know, especially on Twitter, my right-hand man, JC Parker, 369, follow him on Twitter, just had a baby girl. And the amount of vaccines they tried to push on him, he said no. That he got about 3 of them. They kept pushing, like, yeah, bring the baby back in 2 weeks. Bring the baby back in a week or 2. And he's like, no, I'm not doing this. Because he said in the end, it was going to be around 15 to 20 vaccines in a newborn baby. And I could tell you this, if I get a flu shot, which I don't get any of that garbage anymore, that it bruises you. It can make you sick. Yeah. You can get a tetanus shot. It does the same thing. So imagine if you're a 6-pound baby getting smashed with 6, 7 vaccines all at once. Well, it's not good, man.
Someone just said 72 vaccinations by the time you're 18 years old. It's just ridiculous.
And then you're riddled with cancer at 40.
Yeah, and they wonder where it comes from. I had a medical objection to vaccinations for my daughter. So when she was first born, I know they gave her a couple, and then we just avoided the rest of them. And she's one of the healthiest kids I've ever met. She's never sick. Never have to take her to the doctor unless it's something like real serious. But I mean, it's only happened like a handful of times. But one of the things about vaccinations, this is just me personally, not medical advice. But it always seemed to me like the science behind vaccinations was faulty. Okay, you got something like the measles or whatever. People used to get the measles and then they'd get better and then they didn't get it again. Now they give kids these vaccinations for the measles, and then we have an outbreak of measles at places like Disney World because even though you get the vaccination, there's still like a 95% chance of contracting the measles and then giving it to other people who have even been vaccinated.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, I like how they do this in these concentrated areas where there's a big population of people. Yeah. Like they just kind of, who knows what they're putting, like, I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but who knows if it's airborne or if it's through spit or food or whatever like that. I don't know, but I find it quite strange that it just kind of pops up in a tight-knit populated area.
I've always thought that the reason behind it was that they, and this is going to get conspiratorial, but maybe Sam's listening. One of the reasons that they do it is because it's artificially keeping your immune system at like a decreased level. You know, like we were kids, man. You know, I was playing in the dirt. You know, I was eating dirt sometimes when I was a little kid.
Sure.
And I didn't get sick. You know, nowadays everybody is, you know, everything's antibacterial. Everything is, you know, like hand sanitizer, and you're not allowed to touch anything, you know. But then everybody just keeps getting sicker and sicker. We got more and more cases of cancer. And, you know, I'm sure that you've seen that documentary where they talk about the Merck vaccine for SV40. They knew that they were putting monkey virus for cancer into these polio vaccines. And that right after the polio vaccine comes on the scene, all of a sudden cases of cancer just go up exponentially in the United States. I mean, and that's not the only cause. I mean, there's so many different causes. Real quick, Ben Schwagel said, and there we go, real info on sovereign theory. Now we have an actual answer. It doesn't work in court. I really appreciated Megan saying that. Because you know, sovereign theory is one of those things that used to be real big on YouTube. You'd see people talking about it and telling you, you know, oh, you know, you don't have to pay your bills. You know, you can go in and you know, if a cop pulls you over, just tell them that the law doesn't apply and you get to go. I've never heard of anybody having that work. I've never heard of anybody going into a courtroom and telling the judge that the law doesn't apply to them. So I really appreciate Megan saying that. Also, Kelly Dunn, she said, my aunt worked for CPS in Louisville, Kentucky. She quit because of the things that went on. Kids come up missing all the time, and rarely files would disappear. You know, what's really interesting and horrific, Thomas, is the last time Cyndie was on the show, there was a viewer, I don't know if she's listening, but she commented, and she was, you know, kind of like, oh, you know, I've never heard of this stuff happening. But there were some guys who would take children and take them home and abuse them, and that definitely happened. You know,
CPS workers?
CPS workers, yeah, CPS workers. Also, Gregory Klagenberg. Hey, good to see you, Greg. Keep up the great work with Clag from Seavine. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Honorless Rants. Wow, thank you for that super chat, buddy. Appreciate that. Jeff Stewart says, Baby Q, do. Jeff's a good guy. Thanks for being here, Jeff. Shannon said, y'all are amazing. We do love y'all. Thank you for y'all's work. Keck MAGA, where we go one, we go all. Is Shannon a regular viewer at the...
Yeah, she's a sweetie. She's great. She's a mod of mine.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks for showing up, Shan. I appreciate
Very nice.
it. Appreciate it. Well, you know, let's get into some of this news. There has been just so much. The first thing I want to talk about here, Thomas, is Long Beach, Port of Long Beach. The Long Beach Customs and Border Protection Commander has admitted to running illegal gun operations out of the Port of Long Beach. Did you hear about this?
Did not hear about it. Nope.
Oh, good. Listen to this. Okay, so this guy's name is Wei Zhu, and a whole bunch of guns were found at his home. So
Chinese?
Yes, he's Chinese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
go.
starting to make sense, right?
Yes,
China,
sir.
not Russia. A U.S. Customs and Border Protection watch commander at LBC Port admitted to illegally selling guns, just like Eric Holder. This guy is Wei Zhu, 56. He's from Santa Fe Springs. He was actually arrested back in February after an undercover sting revealed that he sold 3 guns out of the trunk of his car to some officers. He's been on unpaid administrative leave since then, and according to a spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office, he is going to get fired, and he's facing a maximum sentence of 25 years in prison if convicted. He did plead guilty on Wednesday to federal gun trafficking and tax evasion charges. And, you know, I was trying to think back. He was arrested back in February. Was there stuff happening on the board with Long Beach Port back then? Do you remember?
Man, I don't know. I feel like that Long Beach stuff was more recent, but maybe not. It could have been about that time frame.
You know, I mean, because there's been more than once that Q's mentioned the Port
Sure.
of Long Beach, you know. But, you know, so... but here's the thing. This is where China comes in. He pled guilty to illegally possessing unregistered firearms and making false statements to a federal agency about his involvement with a Chinese company to get a secret-level security clearance. How many people are going to get caught spying for China, dude? How many more people you think are out there?
Oh, dude. Probably. I mean, tons, man. This is the problem. Is these agencies, these 3-letter agencies, these people with secret, these clearances. I think they're spread throughout, and I think that they're, it's going to take a minute to get all these people captured or, reprimanded. It's if it can happen at all. There's so many of these people, man.
I think you're right. I think that they're spread far and wide. And, admittedly, back during the Cold War, I mean, that's when we grew up. Russia was a problem. We had all kinds of Russian spies. Aldrich Ames, I'm sure you remember him. He worked for the clowns, and he was a spy for Russia. And he assisted the Russians in finding lots of people and helping kill them that were undercover over there in Russia, working for the clowns at that time and for the federal government in many different positions, I think. But ever since then, Bill Clinton moved us a lot closer towards dealing with China in many different ways. And so I really think it was under the Clinton administration that massive Chinese infiltration started happening. I think they had been trying for a long time, but we were too hip on getting into China and allowing Chinese products to flood the market. It's almost something that goes without thinking nowadays, cheap Chinese products.
Ugh.
When I was a kid, the idea of buying a Chinese product, that was just unheard of. You bought an American car. You bought American products.
That's what I do now.
Yeah, well, I do too. But I'm saying, you go into a Walmart, and unfortunately, the things they've done to this country, that's like one of the only places that a lot of people can afford to shop. And they have so many different products, it's almost like it's too convenient. People, they really need to get away from this, so-called free trade that they've just destroyed America with, because it's put us in a really bad position. It's put us in a spot where we have to use, in many cases, many people in this country have to use these Chinese products. Do you remember when dollar stores were a real big thing? You had a dollar store on every corner, and it was like everything was actually $1.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Yeah. Everything was from China. Everything was cheap Chinese goods. You used it once and it broke, so it didn't matter. It was only $1. But there was like a smell inside those stores. And it reminded me of the first time that I walked into a Walmart. They were unloading a semi-trailer with all of these goods, and I smelled it, and I was like, "Where does that smell? Why does that seem familiar?" And I realized it was the smell of the packaging from these Chinese goods that they were unloading.
Yeah, man. My personal opinion on all this is do your best to be a jingoist and just buy everything American. It's going to be more expensive, but that's what I'm doing, man. I drove a Honda before. People know I got in a really bad wreck. I had a Honda Pilot, great car. And I was like, just from doing this, just from being in the movement, why would I buy a foreign car? I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want to support my country. Went out and bought a Chevrolet, and I'm trying just to buy everything American because it's better. Don't you want to support your country? If you can afford it, obviously. And a thing with Walmart, just think, please go somewhere else besides Walmart. Like, just think of what they had planned, FEMA camps, these sort of things. I haven't been in a Walmart in about 7 years, and just because, first off, it's very I don't mean to sound insane right now, but it's very dirty, man. It's very dirty. There's a lot of people are in there are sick. The customer service is always bad. I boycott it. I boycott China. I boycott Walmart. Who's with me?
And that's not to say that it's not to say anything negative about the Chinese people, of course. Okay.
Absolutely.
They are
correct.
in the exact same position as we are, and there are, and I think that every country deserves to be able to make products, but I think that every country, ought to be held up to certain standards for the products that they create. There was a time before I was born back in the 70s where American cars had a reputation for, being junk. They could not keep up with the quality that was coming out of Japan. And the irony of that is that Honda Motor Company began with a lawnmower engine that the United States gave to Japan after World War II. Did you know that?
I did not know that. No.
Yeah. How ironic that is.
Yeah.
Well, there's another Chinese connection here. So this guy Zhu, he worked for a Chinese-based auto parts import business. Sounds like Justin Amash, but he lied about it in order to obtain this top secret security clearance. He also set up a fake Florida-based company between 2005 and 2017 in order to evade the IRS. So, just a bad guy all around. There's some other stuff happening with Ilhan Omar. She's been in the news a lot lately. President Trump has been very vocal in talking
Such an
about
American
her.
name.
Oh, yes, I know. And, I'm really happy that President Trump is finally talking about this because, I've done my research. Ilhan Omar committed immigration fraud when she married her brother. Okay, she also committed what I believe to be tax fraud when she filed taxes jointly with her brother when she was married to another man. But it's also turned out that her father was the top propaganda official in the genocidal Bar regime, and then he changed his name and entered the U.S. illegally. So several of her family members were forced to accept asylum in a different country, in the U.K., but her and her father entered with a fake last name so that they could get asylum here in the United States. So it's like this woman is illegitimate, okay? I would love to see nothing more than Ilhan Omar getting kicked out of Congress, getting sent back to Somalia. And, it's a horrible thing, that we've allowed it to get to this point. But she came here in 1995 with that fraudulent name. The Omar family exists. It's another family. It's unrelated to her, and they were actually granted asylum here in the United States. So they allowed for her and her genetic sister Sarah and her genetic father Nurse Saeed to use false names to apply for asylum as if they were members of the Omar family. Because, like I said, the other ones went to the UK. And that I believe that included her brother, the one that she married. I mean, what kind of sick stuff is that, really? But
right.
But there's a little bit more to it. There's a journalist recently who traveled to Ilhan Omar's homeland because she wanted to prove that Somalia was beautiful, and she wanted to debunk stereotypes.
Okay.
Well, she ended up getting killed by terrorists. The irony.
I'm sorry.
I know that's
not
horrible.
funny, but it is
horrible. But yeah, it's this reminds me of that. This reminds me of those American those hippies that went to like Afghanistan or Pakistan because they wanted to prove that hate wasn't real and that all people are good, and so they were biking across the country. Well, guess what happened to them? They got killed by terrorists. They got picked up by terrorists and they got killed on the side of the road. And it wasn't. I mean, that wasn't all, I mean, it was brutal, I mean, there was a lot more that happened. They defiled that poor woman in front of her boyfriend, and I believe they filmed it, because that's the kind of thing those animals do. Real quick, before we continue, Filled with Hope said, "Hey, guys, thoughts on the 19 on the watch that Q posted? Thanks for what you do. Exciting times." And Ben Schwagel says, Watch this Chinese guy with the guns might lead to Feinstein and or the Clintons. Ooh, good thinking. Yeah, it totally could. I mean, I think I tend to think the whole thing. They're all.
Where is Feinstein, anyways?
Where is she?
Yeah,
she looks like she's wearing a death mask, man. Like it just. Like she looks like a walking corpse. Like all. The
almost
time.
did a spit take on camera.
That would have been great. That would have been great. Well, so here, let's see. So this woman. She's a Somali-born Canadian journalist. She traveled to Somalia last week to prove that it's beautiful and to challenge these stereotypes, to prove that the president of the United States is a racist, and she ended up being killed by Islamic terrorists. Let's see. So she often tweeted about Somalia, and just last week she was posting pictures showing how much fun she was having. It's so clean and breathtaking. I feel horrible. A perfect place for a day swim with the family. Nalaya tweeted just 2 days before she was killed. Horrible stuff. I mean,
we're not bad people,
no,
everyone. We're really not. It's just the ironic. It's so ironic.
It is.
And it's ass backwards. So it's just like, it in a way it can make you laugh because it's just.
Well, I mean,
come on.
It's the horror of
the absurdity
situation.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you don't go to places like this for a reason.
No.
The United States has travel bans on places for for good reasons here.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Here's some pictures from her Twitter. Then on July 12th, her where she was staying this hotel was stormed by these animals. 26 people were killed in the attack, and Hodan Nalaya, 43, and her husband were among the victims. According to a Canadian news outlet, Nalia was pregnant when she was killed. Oh, that makes it even worse. And here it is. You know, I mean, you've got the pictures. It looks, yeah, now she's gone. Now she's gone, man. You know, so lesson learned. Don't go to Somalia. I'm not going to Somalia anytime soon.
No way. No way. I wanted to talk. One of the people, I guess it was a super chat, because I watched the chat on my phone.
Yeah.
And the person talking about the 19 on the watch, did we want to address that? Or we
do. Thank you for bringing me. I got ADD, so.
Oh, you good, bro. You good. Yeah. So, you know, if I did cover this, and you can definitely look on Julian's Rum on Twitter. You know, great thread. You know, the guy makes some of the best stuff out there. Also, Incarnated ET.
Yep.
These are people who I definitely frequent. I do use their threads because I find them to be they're definitely autists, and they do their work 100% and very thorough. So the 19, if you look into the trump cards, which is this all reverts back to the tarot card readings. The time on the watch was 4:50:45.
I thought it was 4:59. I'm looking at it right here. It's 4:59.
Okay. So what I read from that thread, it said 45, right? So 45
okay,
present of 4. Yeah.
I'll buy it.
Yeah. And again, yeah. So and then the 19th of the tarot card is the sun. It's the sun, which is crazy because then they had the sun on. I believe he was talking about World War II, so on and so forth, and he had the white flag. I believe that's what it was, with a yellow sun on it, and then that also may be trolling the sundial on Epstein Island. It's literally the exact same shape, the exact same sun. And by the way, that is not a sundial. That is actually an ancient calendar.
Right, for marking the solstice and the equinoxes and stuff. Yep.
Yes.
I saw that video. Good job.
Yeah, dude. And that really that blew me away, man, to be honest. And another thing that I wanted to I want your opinion on this.
Okay.
You know, just to flip it around a second. So the IK, I don't want to say keywords. Cappy.
Oh, yes,
okay.
My friend.
Yeah. So the dead man switch video, okay? It's in the bathhouse, that Turkish bathhouse. The exact same color scheme, pattern scheme as Epstein Island.
Right.
Who's to say that wasn't in Epstein Island? Who's to say that it wasn't down below?
It totally could have been. Because I remember at the time that came out, people were linking it to a particular Turkish bathhouse, but you could tell. I mean,
I did too.
Yeah, but you know,
I was corrected about that, but
right.
Yeah. So it's saying, who's to say that Isaac didn't go there? Who's to say that? It looks the exact same.
Well,
I mean,
I just, if I may,
go. Yes, absolutely.
I know Isaac himself didn't go there. I mean,
he didn't.
No.
Okay.
This is some. I mean, we spoke quite often, and this is one of those things that we discussed. You know, but he hadn't gone there. He never told me the contents of the switch. You know, but I mean, we talked about Epstein a lot.
Yeah.
So it would not surprise me if there was someone else in Hollywood, or even anybody that might have just contacted him based on his work, that that gave it to him.
Is that his footage? Do we know?
I don't know. No, he never told me about that video. I mean, we talked about, honestly, Cappy's the first person who said, that I'm aware of, that Epstein was the keystone. This was, he did an epic scope about it, and we had been on the phone for about an hour, and we were just brainstorming about all of the connections between Jeffrey and all of his famous friends. And, and he said it, I was like, God, I think you're right. And now I think it really is coming out. I saw a thread today. I wish I had it prepared, but I don't. And in that thread, someone was breaking down the etymology of the last name Epstein. And it basically means like keystone,
wow.
From like the Greek roots and stuff like that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I know it incredibly amazing.
That runs deep, man.
Yes, it does.
So with the another question for you is, how would someone get in there and film that? Obviously, you would think they would be padded down. No, that's like going into, like a skiff or something. Like you're not going to be able to go in there with a phone or anything on you. You're probably, all that stuff's taken from you. So I mean,
I'll give you my opinion.
Go.
I thought from the look of the video that it looked to me like it was like a button camera or
okay.
a hidden camera in some fashion, because around the very edges, it was almost like there was a vignette around it was like slightly darkened around the corners. So it looked to me like it was a button camera. I could totally buy that.
Wow.
You know,
makes sense.
yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I wanted to show.
Sorry to get off track.
No,
sorry.
no. It was perfect. It was
Okay.
perfect. It was perfect. So President Trump slammed Ilhan Omar. That was great, because apparently at the rally, I know that you saw this. There was a bunch of people who were chanting, "Send her back, send her back." You know, like lock her up, lock her up. And I had a couple people email me saying that they were upset with the president because he didn't back them up. But he has come out now, and he said that the people who attended the rally were patriots. And so he defended his supporters. I just want everybody to know the president did defend the people at that rally because they did nothing wrong. You know, I mean, they did.
No,
absolutely.
they're pumped up, man.
Yeah.
And I think we all feel the same way.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I know that my audience does too. So he said, you know what I'm unhappy with? I'm unhappy with the fact that a congresswoman can hate our country. Also, she's lucky to be where she is, Trump said of the Somali-born Muslim lawmaker. On Wednesday night, after Trump mentioned the Muslim representative Ilhan Omar, who came to the United States as a child and became an American citizen at age 12, the crowd at the North Carolina rally chanted, "Send her back, send her back." Now, what just really just blows my mind is that the press, they pretend to not be able to understand this stuff. She's saying terrible things about America, all right? There is tremendous evidence to show that she did many illegal things in her journey to becoming an American citizen and after. So it makes a lot of sense to me. Send her back. She didn't do it legally. She did it incorrectly, So Christine in Texas just said, are you and Thomas convinced that no one walks away from this? The brazen behavior of all of them makes me worry. No, I don't think anybody's going to walk away from this, but I mean, I think it's going to be a spectrum of punishments that take place. I think that some people are going to inform on other people, so they're going to perhaps get lighter prison sentences. I don't think that everybody is going to be put to death necessarily. I think the worst of the worst are going to get put to death, but I do think that all these people are going to pay for what they've done. What do you think, Thomas?
Yeah, man. I mean, I like to go on tangents, but so stop me if I do. I think a lot of this is theatrical, and I think that you have players. I don't even think the press is even the press. I don't think that Jim Acosta is actually I don't think he's a reporter. I think he works for a 3-letter agency, and he's put there to yap, and he's given. I think a lot of these people are. Look at WAPO. Look who owns WAPO, Jeff Bezos, all this, it's all intertwined with one another. These people, they're playing parts.
Oh, you're totally right.
They're playing parts. And do I think that people, I don't think once it's out of the hands of the president, I don't think the president wants to put anyone to death. I don't think the president wants to do anything like that. I think the president wants to put them away for good, to never be seen again. Right. That's what he wants to do. Well, because if he doesn't even want to go into Iran and do a bombing and may or may not, kill 100 people, I'm telling you, man, under this administration, there will not be war. There will not be death. I guarantee you, under this administration, that's what's going to happen. He's a person of light, and he's not about that, man. I think he has a big, strong conscience, and he's working with something, man.
I agree. The president is a compassionate and humane man. And let's just be clear, it wouldn't even be Trump that would be putting anybody to death directly. It would be the Department of Justice, I mean, yes. I think we all like to use, the president, colloquially. We talk about Donald Trump doing this, Donald Trump doing that. But it's the administration, it's the agency that oversees whatever it is that needs looking after. And somebody had said we never really, got down to the nitty-gritty of the 19th. I personally think that something probably happened today, but it's something that hasn't been revealed yet. I know that the Epstein files, those 2,000 pages, which are going to reveal those rich and powerful people, I know that is scheduled to be released any day now. Who's to say that didn't get into the hands of somebody today and then it's going to be further disseminated after this weekend. Maybe they want it to be big in the news cycle. So what? They drop it Monday morning at 9 a.m. They're not going to bury it on a Friday at 4:59. But also, oh no, Christine, thank you for that super chat. I did want to talk about the Jake Tapper tweet from the Q post when Adam Serwer says this is all going to get so much worse, and Jake Tapper retweets it with the word evergreen, the code word.
What?
Yes, the code for Hillary Clinton, her Secret Service code. I think that Jake, he's been to the island. We know Jake Tapper's been to the island. We know that Jake's a clown. We know that he's a Project Mockingbird plant, just like Anderson Cooper. I think that Jake Tapper might be ready to do some talking. I can't think of another reason why he would say evergreen right here. Or maybe he's just talking to his MK Ultra Mockingbird friends and letting them know that Hillary Clinton is up next on the docket.
Could be, man. I don't, like I said, man, I think there's a lot of big players within this. There's a lot of people who are, foot soldiers too. And if they, no deals. So I don't know. When I mean no deals, why would he maybe try and go after, maybe throw Hillary under the bus or give some information, some damning information? That could be. When it's irrefutable that something could happen to him. We don't know. That's behind the scenes. Go ahead, man.
When Q says no deals, I tend to think that the people who are going to be looking at capital crimes, they are going to be found guilty and they're going to be punished as such. I always thought that it meant, just because you're a powerful person, it means that you're not just going to get off with nothing. It's not going to be an Epstein 2008 all over again. These people who are looking at paying for capital crimes, crimes against children, they are going to get the hammer of justice brought down on them swiftly.
Oh yeah, they're done for, and a lot of the listeners out there today talking about, I want retribution, I want vengeance on these people. I agree, man. These people have kept us back hundreds of years. They've hurt so many people, and they brainwashed millions, if not in the billions, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's you can go back and you can. I'll tell you one thing, and I don't know if it's real, but that audio of John Podesta with the little girl.
Oh.
If you want to get upset about something, and you want to get some fire under you, go listen to that. Because if you ever feel forgiveness for these people, which I don't, and I never will, because of that video scarred me, man. And with these Q posts talking about that, confirmed, in my opinion, confirmed the Uma Abedin video, confirmed HRC getting a blood transfusion from a 14-year-old boy. Imagine when that comes out, guys. It's not going to be on the mainstream. It's not going to be on the front page of the New York Times, but it's going to be on the internet. Yeah. And you're going to probably be able to find it, through torrent or something like that. And, I hope the worst for these people. Personally, I don't want them to get the death penalty or hung. I want them to be locked away forever, so they're just left with their thoughts. And that's what I imagine. And who knows if they're even people. Can we get that point out there? I don't even know if they're people anymore, man. I don't know if they have their souls. I don't know. I don't want to go down this esoteric, conspiratorial.
I feel you, bro. I don't think they're human anymore. I think that they have sold their souls. They've probably traded them away in a deal with the devil, a deal with Moloch.
Sure.
And whether or not they were human to begin with, that is another question entirely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, I did want to show that picture. We did talk about this the other day in my video. That bathhouse, which is in I believe this is in Turkey. When I saw this and it said Turkish bathhouse, I thought perhaps maybe this is where the video that Cappy showed was taken, and maybe. Maybe Epstein was there at this bathhouse, or maybe it's just the fact that it is underground on the island and it was modeled after this. I bet you there's an elevator underneath that Golden Dome Temple there on the island on Little St. James, and you go straight down and it takes you into the real party for these sick O's. I was going to say something much worse, but I had
Are
to.
you good? I know. I got you on your channel. Yeah. I feel you. Yeah. I understand, man. And I swear, I think Neon Revolt even talked about like that. Wait till that comes out, these underground tunnel systems.
Yep.
Because that temple right there from that drone footage, it's just like empty.
Rusty.
There's like ladders and and people are like, it's a what is it?
You could see mattresses in there too.
What?
There was scaffolding, there was ladders, there was mattresses. Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine what's going on in there. You know,
I think it's an elevator.
Rusty,
I think it's an elevator.
I think so too. I think there's an elevator that goes down. But yeah, Rusty is killing it with that drone footage. You know, I want to know if he is there, like by that island, and every single day he's going and getting new footage, or did he just go get like 12 hours worth of footage and then he's selectively chopping it up and releasing it? You know, have you thought about that? Rusty Shackelford, he's the guy with the
I know
footage.
who Rusty Shackelford is, but there's another, I said this today because I'm actually talking with a drone guy right now.
You're talking to Rusty?
No. Another drone guy
Okay.
who works in Palm Beach.
Okay.
And he's actually selling, he's a realtor. He's selling Epstein's home in Palm Beach.
Oh, wow.
And he is a patriot. I've told people about this data on a live stream. He's going to be able to get this exact same drone footage as Rusty Shackelford, who, if you don't know, I'm going to get a little nerdy right now. That is Dale Gribble's secret name on King of the Hill. So if you didn't know that, that's I didn't know. Yeah, that's his secret because he's CIA and everything. And actually, that character is based off Alex Jones. But anyways, that's another story, and it's set in Texas near Austin. So exactly, this guy I'm speaking with is going to be able to get the exact same footage. He's going to be able to do it to the neighbors surrounding houses because those houses are actually somewhat vacant too.
Oh, wow.
And he's actually going to go to, and people are saying this is old news. I didn't know about this. But he's also going to be able to go to Zorro Ranch, which is Epstein's 7,500 acres. He's actually getting helicopters to fly down, all kinds of stuff. I swear,
man,
I'm not making any of this up.
I was just trying to find a normal person with a drone that lived nearby. You're just
we got this guy, man. We got this guy.
Wow, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Very cool stuff. I don't even know what we're talking about, but
good for you.
We're talking about Rusty Shackelford. Yeah. I think this guy probably has tons of.
You think he's MI?
Is it?
Do you think Rusty's intelligence?
He could just be a patriot, man. Is this legal what he's doing? Does anybody know?
No, it's legal. I mean, because it's all international waters around the island.
Okay.
You know, and I mean, let's be honest, nobody's there. You know, I mean, the place is cleaned out. So, I mean, who's going to file charges against him? Jeffrey is never going to see the light of day ever again. He's not going to step foot out of there. And he's not going to, and he's probably doesn't know about Rusty going and, flying a drone around his island. He's shown some amazing stuff. Way more stuff on that island than I've ever seen.
Amazing. How many videos has he put out? 2?
No, like 6.
I'm sorry.
He's had a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I'm gonna be showing some more stuff on the live stream tomorrow, I think, or maybe on Sunday. We'll see. But yeah, I got a lot of respect for that guy. He's doing good work.
Oh my God, it's so interesting.
Yep. So did you hear about Mueller's star witness George Nader? He was indicted. He was indicted on additional child sex crime charges. So
this is going to keep happening to all these people.
Yep.
It's going to be a rollout.
Yes, definitely. So he was originally indicted on June 3rd on the CP charges, and then a 3-count indictment was unsealed on Friday, and he was charged earlier in July for possessing CP and for traveling with a minor to engage in crimes against children. He was transporting a 14-year-old European boy to the United States. That was back in 2000. All right. So this is not the first time that Nader has been used by the intelligence services to provide evidence or, to talk about stuff. He left the country previously because of these charges, and then he got back in. I think he donated to a bunch of Democrats. But he was also an advisor to the United Arab Emirates, and he was investigated for influencing U.S. policy. The New York Times reported that back in 2018. And he was interviewed by Mueller's team twice. Now, he wanted to interview him supposedly because he helped arrange a January 2017 meeting in the Seychelles. I don't know what that is. Must be a country or maybe a series of islands between Blackwater founder Eric Prince and a Russian official. It sounds like a setup to me. But he did flee the country. He flew to the UAE, go into hiding after his decades-old child crimes were revealed. And, he doesn't seem like a very strong witness at this point. So I don't know what kind of information they think that he's going to be providing.
No, it's just another one bites the dust, I think.
Did you hear about Donald Trump's fundraising in California?
I have not.
Well, he's raised more money in liberal California than most of the Democratic candidates. I don't know who's raised the most. We're going to probably find out in this article. But, I mean, that's hilarious. I really hope that people in California are just getting sick and tired of the kind of stuff that they're having to put up with as a result of their liberal leadership.
It's just homeless people and like defecation and no businesses, and it's I will never go there.
No.
I'm sorry if I'm not trying to be offensive to anyone who lives in California.
It's not your fault.
But no, yeah, it's correct. It's not your fault. It's your political leaders, and they're bums. That's what they are.
So this is Californians have donated $3.2 million to President Trump for his reelection campaign. So that's more than two of the Democratic presidential contenders right now. And, of course, we know it's heavily liberal. But 92.8% of this pile of donations were made by small donors, contributing less than $100. So I would imagine that the two that have made more than him in the Democrat side, they've probably got many, many large donations, from corporations and from Hollywood elite. But the people who are donating to Donald Trump's campaign, just like in 2016, it's normal people. It's people just like us. President Trump has his finger on the pulse of America, and he always has. And even if you lived in California and these people didn't vote for him back in 2016, I guarantee you they're going to be voting for him now. And they're not going to be able to pull that same crap they did with the voter suppression and the ballot harvesting, all of the vote fraud, all of that stuff. It's not going to happen this time.
No, man. I think a lot of people are definitely waking up, even with my parents. My parents they're boomers. And I every time I see them, I chip away and I chip away. And this Epstein stuff, it's starting to wake them up, man. And they're starting to, my parents, to be honest, I love my parents. I'm very close with them. They don't like what I do. They don't. They just started watching it. They started watching my show. They bought merch. To show their love, and but they are starting to wake up, and I think by the end of all this, I think by 2020, who knows, man? I think a lot of people are shifting, man. This is it. It's not left or right. It's shifting. It's awakening.
It's good versus evil, bro.
Yes, exactly. That's what's happening. My parents are starting to realize this, and it makes me very happy. But we got a long ways to go.
I see many people saying they're boomers in the audience. There's nothing wrong with being a boomer. My parents
No.
My father's passed away, but my mother, I guess she's technically a boomer. I mean, she was born after World War II. But my mom is in the audience. I hope you should have told your parents to tune in tonight, dude.
Oh, bro, they wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
You just tell them that my mom watches the show. All they got to do is just tune in. They can chat with my mom in the chat room. So Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg are the only ones who have made more money than President Trump, and they all beat out Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. It's bad news for those people. Look at this. Here's a thing here. Kamala Harris made the most. She made almost $8 million. Pete Buttigieg, another deep state candidate, made about $5.5 million, and then President Trump 3.2. Everybody else is barely over $2 million. We got Biden, Sanders over $2 million, and then everybody else is under $2 million. And then de Blasio, he didn't even register. Nobody wants de Blasio.
Well, the ones that, like, what is his name? Buttigieg? What is it?
Buttigieg.
Buttigieg. And one of the funniest things was when at that rally when Trump was making fun of his name. This dude Trump goes down the line making fun of everyone. I love sports, like I really do, but I don't watch it anymore per se. I would rather tune in, have a beer, and watch a rally or watch a press conference or a cabinet meeting. It is so fun to watch this guy. He gives us energy. And the fact that he was trolling all these people, I can't even imagine I can't even imagine who goes up against him.
Oh, it's going to be hilarious. And he's comedy gold.
It's going to be a roast.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a roast.
100%. Always. Every single thing is going to be a roast. Need to say thank you to Ben Schwagel. He says, should we be looking at the background of the other buildings that look like the temple and the bathhouse? I think it's worthwhile investigating every speck of that island, okay? I think that the interesting stuff is going to be underground, okay? We're not going to see too much. I think we were extremely lucky to see that temple on top of the mountain there, on top of that hill. That's just incredible. The hubris.
Why is that gone, by the way?
Well, the gold dome?
Oh, because of a fire?
Well, I think the dome actually was like a hurricane or some type of tropical storm, they said. But everything else, like we said, in the post, $29 million to bury all of those tunnels. There were multiple fires on the island, definitely evidence burning. And, I reported the other day that after his 2008 trial, he paid a ton of money to have a giant paper shredder and a carpet and tile remover shipped to his home.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's gross,
Evidence removal, of course. He's got to get rid of all the blood in the tile and in the carpet, because that stuff sticks in grout. All they got to do is come in with some luminol and a black light, and they're going to see exactly how many children were sacrificed. So let me see. We got... report debunks Democrat claims. The Trump administration has actually reunited 95% of migrant children with their families. So these are actual families, guys. These are not the children that are trafficked across the border with these just horrible people who are passing them back and forth, sending them back down into Central America and into Mexico, and then they're used again and again, brought across the border, probably terribly traumatized, just stuck in a life of human trafficking. But here on the screen, we've got this famous picture of all these children under all these thermal blankets. And I just want to remind everyone, once again, this is during the Obama administration. Okay, this is not during the Trump administration. This new report by the Republicans of the House Oversight Committee revealed data produced by Trump's Department of Health and Human Services showing that 95% of migrant children who have been released from custody have been reunified with an individual sponsor or released to a parent. Another fact that the Democrat media complex conveniently ignores. The media don't care that Obama kept migrant children in cages wrapped in foil, but Trump is literally that guy from World War II with the mustache. Data shows that the Trump administration has reunified an overwhelming majority of separated children. And here are the numbers according to the House Republicans. A total of 2,648 children who were potentially separated at the border. 7 to date. HHS has provided to the committee for 1,619 of these 2,648 children. According to a staff analysis of the data, out of those 1,619 children, 1,603, or 99% of those kids, have been discharged from HHS custody. Of those 1,603, 1,546 children, or 95%, were either reunified with an individual sponsor or released to a parent. And specifically, 1,061 children were released to a parent and 485 children were reunified with an individual sponsor. This isn't even all that many kids when you look at the big picture of it. With the way that AOC talks, saying that they're running these these camps on the border, there's just tens of thousands of children that are just waiting there, drinking out of toilets, sleeping with these tinfoil blankets on. This is a lot of kids, all right? But when you see the numbers, it's not that many, but an overwhelming majority of them have already been discharged and they've been taken care of. They're with their parents, Their narrative is crumbling. I love it. I absolutely love being able to watch this stuff because they're just freaking out. We've got the squad giving press conferences. We've got Nancy Pelosi freaking out on the floor. She was too shook up. She couldn't even lead the House session that day. Just incredible stuff.
Yeah, man. And when you see these, when they walk by and you see the cages and you see like the glass walling, and then you see the people trying to come, the illegals coming across, and they're like, please let us out, blah, blah, blah. They're all military-aged men. That's all it is. And I don't mean to racially profile, but if you kind of like look around it throughout these guys, they're not Hispanic. Some of these people are not Hispanic. They're definitely Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
And we all know, and Trump's already said this, that within these groups, within these, I'm going to say invasions. I feel like I'm like on CNN, like I'm going to get like backlash for saying this. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm so like.
No backlash. You're with friends, Thomas. You're with friends.
Yeah. So it's like, he's even said there's terrorists. There's terrorist groups that are with, integrated within these masses coming up through the southern border. So, yeah. Don't feel sorry for these people because I don't think they have the best intentions.
No, and now that President Trump has closed that loophole, forcing each of these people seeking asylum to accept asylum in a country before the United States, it's going to be a non-issue. We have secured the safety of the refugees. If they are a refugee, they're going through Mexico, they will have to apply for asylum in Mexico, and they'll have to be denied in Mexico in order to be able to apply here in America. This is another beautiful thing that Trump did. He had that taken care of, and that's when everything broke about the squad. And the news of that was crushed by the news of the squad saying that President Trump was, a horrible racist, but he didn't even mention anything about race. He's talking about people who are descended from, immigrants who came from terrible countries, or people like Ilhan Omar, who is an actual immigrant herself. But just a brilliant calculation on his part. The news was not able to cover this in the way that they might have covered it otherwise, and spun it in a way that would be negative for the president. He just made the Democrats look bad. He made them look terrible. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are supporting and boosting up these communists and these socialist leaders that we have, the squad, these 4 women in Congress. And the American public does not care for these women. The American public has a very low opinion of them.
I think it's all low IQ. Just tossing the word racist around. It's the same format over and over, and it's like it's just key words, man. That's all it is. Racist or bigot, blah 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 blah. It's like, come on, man. Like how dumb are you? Like pick it up.
They're so used to it working. They've lost their grip.
It's amazing when you're awake, you just see you're looking over their heads. You're just kind of like, I don't even hear this noise.
Oh, we got one more from Ben Schwagel. How many March on Area 51 stars will be found on Epstein's list? I don't know. That's a joke. I don't know if everybody realizes that that's a joke. If you read the original thing, they're talking about Naruto running faster than the bullets. Naruto is like a Japanimation character, somebody from like a Japanese cartoon. But also the place where they're supposed to meet is some like 40 to 60 miles from the actual entrance of Area 51. But I don't know if anybody showed up. I don't know if anybody did it. But I think
it already happened.
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know enough about it. I watched this show called Explore With Us on YouTube sometimes. It's like a father and daughter, and they do a lot of videos in Area 51 or in the vicinity of Area 51, and they get like footage of the camo dudes, these guys in white trucks. They're private contractors that try to stop anybody from going into Area 51.
I would love to go there, man.
Oh yeah, we should check it out sometime, dude.
Yeah.
I've done a road trip through that area of the country, and I went to the Little Alien.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
It's pretty sweet. Well, we got one more story I wanted to cover here in the last couple of minutes. Comey is coming out gunning for Trump and his supporters. He says we must send Trump and his mob back to their dark corner because we are encroaching on Comey's territory. Comey and Mika, who think that they can tell the American people what to do and do horrible things for us. Fired FBI Director James Comey came for Trump supporters on Thursday and said it's time to send Trump's mob back into their dark corner. He was tweeting, of course, and attacking people like you and I in response to the Send Her Back chant at the rally. Now, of course, Ilhan Omar, we know all about her. We know about her support for these horrible organizations like Hamas and CARE and, of course, AQ. And he said, we have long had ugly margins in this country, but we are a fundamentally decent people with shared values. We treasure our identity as a nation of immigrants. With our voices and our 2020 votes, we must send Donald Trump and his mob back to their dark corner. No, Jim, What we need to do is start assimilating immigrants. The people that we let into this country, we need to actually teach them how to be an American. You know, it's great that we are a country of immigrants. You know, my family was immigrants as well, but they became American. You know, they came to America to become an American, okay, to escape whatever it was that was bad for them in their country, you know, to make their way in the world. James Comey, you know, he's just another deep state stooge, and he's got nothing good to say as far as I'm concerned.
Nah, bum. I don't even waste my energy listening to him yap. You know.
Well, but I mean, every now and then you get a little nugget.
Yeah, that's
Grass Valley.
That's very true, bro. Very true. You do get a nugget from these people, and just sometimes I'm just burnt out. I'm like, I can't take these people anymore, man.
I feel you.
Give me a ball game.
Yeah, definitely. Ben Schwagel said, you need to get Tim Pool on at some point. He seems to be starting to come around. As neutral as he tries to be, he's been missing the point. I don't know that I could get Tim Pool on, you know? I mean, like, he's down. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it would be an interesting conversation, you know? I mean, it's interesting because Tim Pool is the only, like, non-mainstream channel that YouTube, like, still puts in my feed, you know? Like,
how are you telling me that story?
Yeah, like anybody that I want to watch, I get Tim Pool videos instead, you know? It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, well, Thomas, we're coming up to the top of the hour, buddy. Tell everybody where to find you just in case they haven't seen you before.
Yeah, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at TRUreporting. We just hit 13,000 followers. Huge. Yeah, the number keeps going up. I'm loving it. You can follow me on YouTube, TRUreporting also. I also have a merch store, Patreon, PayPal. All of those links are in the description box with all my videos. And it's always a pleasure, my friend, always to come on this. I look forward to it every time.
I do.
I always like waiting for the call. I got to get you on mine, man. We've yet to do that.
Dude, you just tell me when, man. As soon as you have your next stream, I will be on your show. Okay. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. We'll do a call in. We'll have some fun. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, and likewise, Thomas, I love having you on the program. Obviously, you're a great friend. I love being able to have gotten the opportunity to become friends and get to know you, buddy. And I know that my audience loves it when you come on, too. So
fun.
I just want to thank everyone for being here with us tonight. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if this is your first time here. And don't miss tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday night. We're going to be back with some more amazing programming. It's going to be Matt Couch, guys. Matt Couch is going to be on, I think, for a full 2 hours. We're going to be talking about new developments in the Seth Rich case because there has been plenty as of late. All right, so as always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News for Friday Night Livestream. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.